Stephen from Temecula, California, asks a long question. So I'm going to try to go to the core of it. When he asks, I keep hearing that thought and everything else that exists arises in consciousness. But isn't this just a thought? Yes. If we take it literally, it is a thought. The question is really to know whether this thought refers to a belief or to an experience. We don't want here to believe anything that we don't have to believe in. So we have to exclusively try to remain within the parameters of experience. And to have an I don't know type of attitude with regard to all beliefs. So you go on, Stephen goes on saying, I keep hearing that thought and everything else that exists arises in consciousness. But isn't this just a thought? So it may be, but it may be something that refers to an experience. And he goes on. Isn't the experience of being just a thought? Isn't awareness a thought? Well, let's take the second question first. Isn't awareness a thought? So that would mean that awareness, if awareness were a thought, that a thought, awareness, would think other thoughts. But thoughts don't think. Thoughts are thought. So there is a reality that thinks the thoughts, that creates the thoughts, that manifests the thoughts, that perceives the thoughts. We call this reality awareness. How do we know that there is such a reality and that this reality is not a thought? The reason we know it is because if we take any specific thought, any particular thought, this thought has limited existence. Its existence is limited in time. It exists for a certain duration, a certain period, and then it's no longer there. It may resurface later on, but there are many moments when any specific thought is not there. Otherwise, if all the thoughts we have or ever have had were simultaneously present in the mind, it would be really chaotic. So, there is something that glues the thoughts together. That is their common substratum or their common support or substance, like a screen onto which the various scenes of the movies or the various movies are being projected. And this continuous presence behind the discontinuous projections, thoughts, perceptions, is what we call consciousness, awareness, or I. For before we are the body, before we are even the concepts we have about ourselves, we are this awareness, we are this presence that perceives the body, that perceives the thoughts and the perceptions. So Stephen, in order to answer this question for yourself, because I cannot answer it for you, ask yourself the question: does a thought think? Or is it something else? Am I talking to a thought in this moment? Is it a thought that is hearing my words? How could that be possible? Then there would be two things perceived: my words that are being heard and the thought that perceives them. Obviously, it is not your experience in this moment. It is very important to recognize that the nature of awareness is not the nature of a thought. Awareness is transparent, like a mirror, and the thoughts are like the reflections within this mirror. In and by itself, the mirror is colorless. That's why it can reflect all the various colors of the object. Similarly, consciousness is transparent. That's why it can reflect or manifest all these thoughts, all these perceptions. Now, isn't the experience of being just a thought? Well, if you have already answered the previous question, which was, is awareness just a thought? And if you have discovered that no, awareness is not just a thought, awareness has a reality of its own, which in fact gives a reality to other thoughts, then you will recognize that the experience of being is not different from the experience of being aware. Because when you use the word the experience of being, you use the word experience. And experience implies awareness. There is no experience without awareness. So the experience of being would be the experience of awareness experiencing itself, awareness being aware of itself. That couldn't be a thought, because neither that which experiences being, nor the being which is being experienced are thoughts. So the experience of being is truly a thoughtless experience. And because it is thoughtless, it is also timeless. It is an immediate apperception. It doesn't take place in the mind. It is thoughtless. From the vantage point of the mind, it seems like an instantaneous understanding, an instantaneous recognition, which has a 0-second duration. But in fact, during this 0-second duration, you went into eternity. I think if you answer for yourself this question about awareness being or not being a thought, and then about the connection between awareness and being, following my hints, if you will, a lot of the other questions that were included in your message will find their answer. So I leave them to you as exercises, if you will. Thank you, Stephen, for your question.